Welcome to the Bulldog Breakdown. Buck Belue, Hutson Mason. Hutson, let's talk about this Tennessee Volunteer win up in Knoxville. Jake Fromm was spectacular. I'm not sure you could play at a higher level than he's playing at right now. Jake, only one sack all season, and that reflects on his expertise at quarterback and the offensive line protection scheme. No interceptions, completing 77% of his passes. Fromm put on a clinic up in Knoxville.
He literally looks like he's playing against high school kids. I mean, he has taken the next step. You talk about the game slowing down, and when you get to that point as a quarterback, Jake Fromm was there last year. He's literally at the point where, you know, you always wonder, okay, are you trying to get better in the system? He's trying to master. That's how good he's trying to master it. And you know,
he's got the PhD.
Yeah, I mean, the collegiate record for completion percentage throughout a season set by Colt McCoy was 75%. Jake Fromm went up to Knoxville, completed 82% of his passes, 0 interceptions, no sacks, I believe. And so, I mean, he's distributing the football. He doesn't take negative plays, doesn't put the ball in harm's way. It's extreme. It's more than methodical. It's very impressive.
Yeah, and right now he's top 5 in QBR rating across college football. So one of the elite quarterbacks out there. Let's talk about the Georgia offense as a whole here. I think there's a misconception that Georgia needs to be like the other top teams, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, LSU, who are leading college football in scoring. We're not the same type of offense as those teams are. They're using a machine gun, and what Georgia's using is a sledgehammer. We're going to beat you to death. It's going to be a slow death. We're going to be physical up front. You're going to have to stop all 5 of these quality running backs we're going to throw at you. And oh, by the way, the quarterback is going to have us in the right play. Yeah. It's a slow death. And I think that's maybe why Georgia's not getting the respect nationally like these teams that are scoring 50 points a game.
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, look, Georgia, whether it's using 3 different backs, we saw Brian Herrien, we saw Zeus average over 8 yards per pop. And then you talk about, you know, some of the receivers getting involved that look good. I mean, Georgia just has many different ways. I know they may not have the most explosive plays in the country, but Kirby looks to average an explosive play, which he qualifies as 12 yards or more per rush, 15 yards or more per pass. He wants that every 8 plays. You go back and look at the Tennessee game, they average an explosive play every 8.2 plays. So they're right on track. It's just different than what people, when they watch the Big 12 or they watch Alabama, you know, they're doing it through the air. Georgia will mix it up. They'll predominantly, it's mostly through the run, but we've seen it through the pass as well. I mean, how many plays, jump balls, 50-50 balls we saw Saturday night that were that close from being called? The offensive pass interference on Cager, the one time where he juggled the ball out of bounds. I mean, they were very close from landing some of those deep shots.
Yeah, Cager and Pickens with touchdown receptions. Cager backing up that game that he had a couple of weeks ago as the go-to guy. The receivers look like they're getting better, and this is a month where they really do need to grow. The defense. Got off to a bad start at Tennessee as Maurer hit some big plays. I think LeCount got caught trying to make a big play. The play was extended. They hit the deep shot. But other than that, dog defense shutting down the run game.
Yeah, and I'll say this about Tennessee. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt's recruiting. Tennessee has more 5-stars on the roster than Florida does. And I thought you started to see, okay, Jeremy Pruitt, once it clicks for these guys, I mean, they got good players. And when you play Georgia now, you're going to get everybody's best shot because they want to take down the top dog. I thought you saw that in the first half. Maurer made some nice throws. The square in, double post for a touchdown was a good read by the true freshman. So tip your hat to them. But Georgia just stayed persistent. They, you know, continued to fight, and then they played even better in the second half. So, you know, there's some people out there, oh, we didn't start fast. You know, every game isn't going to be perfect, you know, but I thought Georgia played as good as they could and played a complete game.
I've been waiting on one of these outside linebackers to emerge as sort of a star player, and Azeez Ojulari apparently is the guy. 2 sacks in the game, Kirby has spoken about him and how he's a three-down player. He can play the run on first down. He can get after the passer on second and third down.
Yeah.
Versatile. Looks like out of all these 5- and 4-star players that we've signed over the last 3 recruiting classes, hey, it turns out it's going to be Azeez Ojulari that looks like the star player off the edge.
And then, you know, Jordan Davis went out with an injury, didn't come back, but it looks like he's going to be good to go. I mean, this defense, they're playing fast. I mean, they look like, and they don't really give up big plays. You haven't really seen yet. I know the post or the square and go touchdown that we talked about, that was just a good play design. It really wasn't a bust. You just got to tip your hat to Chaney saying, okay, you called the perfect play and the perfect coverage. You don't really see right now through the first couple weeks Georgia making big busts. They know where to line up. They play fast. They execute. And to me, those are always the most dangerous and toughest defenses to play against.
Yeah, and they're deep. They're playing a lot of guys. We'll take a brief break, come back and take a look ahead. Coming up, Georgia taking on South Carolina.
Estamos activos, mi gente. Un día en a row.
Belue, Hutson Mason, we call this the Bulldog Breakdown. Georgia taking on South Carolina this week. Early kickoff, noon between the hedges. Kirby calling out the fan base to show up early and help be a difference in a game. I look at South Carolina, Hutton, I see a tough, physical team. Got some big dudes along the line of scrimmage. I think that reflects their head coach and Will Muschamp.
Yeah.
So looks like it'll be a physical game on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, look, South Carolina's kind of beat up. They lost their starting quarterback at the beginning of the season. The Solinsky kid came in and played pretty well at the beginning, but has kind of tailored off recently. So this is a game where I think a lot like Tennessee, where you would expect Georgia to just kind of dominate. And how does Georgia handle success, right? You went up to Tennessee. You played, I think, the most complete game all season. Can you kind of replicate and duplicate that in back-to-back weeks? That's what the best teams do in the country. So I know noon kickoff, everybody will be a little slumber. May not be the Notre Dame pack 92,000. It's a challenge to Georgia to step on South Carolina's throat and play a complete game and start fast.
Well, let's start with the Georgia defense taking on the South Carolina offense. Brian McClendon, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 quality running backs. Tavian Feaster, who transferred in from Clemson, and you got big Rico Dowdle also running the ball. Looks like Big 99. There's a question about his ankle that he injured in the Tennessee game. I think we're in pretty good shape there because we've got Julian Rochester, who is now healed up, coming off that knee injury. And big number 5 is getting some reps back in there on the interior defensive line. So I think even if Big 99 doesn't play in the game, looks like they'll be able to cover that up with Rochester being back.
Yeah, Rochester, a local kid from Cobb County, I believe, right here. I think he went to McEachern High School. And since Jordan Davis, some of these outside linebackers, Rochester has kind of fallen under the radar, and we haven't really talked about him a lot, but here's his opportunity. And stuff like this happens during the season, right? Big guy goes down. You need some of this depth. This is why you recruit. And Rochester, a highly recruited kid out of Cobb County, so it'll be good for him to get his opportunity and his moment because you need that depth as you go throughout the season.
Offensively for Georgia, taking on a South Carolina defense that really big and physical defensive front. So that'll be a good matchup with our big physical offensive line. I'd like to see us go a little more tempo in this game because they're not the deepest team in the league. The top 22 look good. The top 11 on defense, it doesn't look like they've got as much depth as they need defensively. So keep those big physical guys on the field.
Yeah.
And let's play a little tempo in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And look, this isn't the South Carolina of 2011-12 when they won 11 games. I mean, they had great players in the secondary. They had, Jadeveon Clowney, but even on the offensive side of the ball, they had A.J. Cann, they had offensive linemen, Connor Shaw. A lot of those just important, significant roles aren't there for South Carolina right now. I want to see Georgia's defense get after Helinski early in the game, cause some confusion, maybe get some turnovers, and force them to have to throw the ball a ton early in the game.
Hud, I'm really feeling better about two areas I had concern about. Wide receiver, and you've spoken about it. I see some development, guys getting better, like Pickens, and that's going to help Georgia be a more legitimate team come November when these big games show up. And then defensively, as I spoke about, Ojulari stepping out as an edge rusher. One area we really needed to improve. The havoc rate went up against Tennessee, had a lot of negative plays for that Tennessee offense. So I'm feeling better about the two concerns I had.
Well, you can tell that Georgia, I don't know if addressed, but they practice, and I think you could tell the coaches had an emphasis on those two areas in the bye week. I mean, the receivers look good. Lawrence Cager, man, I mean, 6'4", 6'5", the way he can go up and get that ball against Tennessee's DBs. I mean, he looked like a man amongst boys. And, as a quarterback, how comfortable you are when you have to throw up that 50-50 ball that you got a guy who will go get it. There's a difference between a guy catching a ball and then a dude who will go get it. Cager looks like a guy who will climb the ladder and go get it.
All right, there's your Bulldog breakdown. Hope you'll join us next week as we look back and look ahead with Georgia football.